Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. So, today's episode is just a solo one, so you've got me for the next half an hour or so. The other day got me thinking, look, our home has been a bit chaotic, and it was really impacting me, my husband, and my family, my daughter. And it got me thinking about sharing something with you all on the podcast today. So, what is that exactly? Well, I want to talk about how your home impacts the way you live, feel, and function more than I think anyone really truly understands. It can really turn things upside down. Currently, at the moment, we are dealing with we got water in our spare room. We've had to pull everything out of our spare room. We've had to rip up the carpet. We're waiting for the insurance company to reinstall carpet. So we've got stuff from our spare room in our dining room, in our media room. I also have a sale going on in the business at the moment, which that stock has been separated out from everything in the studio and the warehouse and is sitting in our hallway. Um, all the things. So there's a bit going on. But this I can easily identify, and I know I can do something about it. So on the weekend, I got in and I rearranged a few things just to make it a little bit more easy on everyone while we are still in a bit of limbo. However, I want to talk to you about the day to day of what this does to everyone because there's honestly not one single client I don't think that I have who hasn't had something happening in their home that drives them crazy, stresses them out, and life throws things at us that really can turn things upside down. Our home is meant to be a place to support us, but it can also cause us chaos, stress, anxiety, sadness, all the things. So I guess I'm here to just kind of talk to you a little bit more about what that is and some awareness around it and how we can fix it. And my first thing I want to say to you is do not ignore the elephant in the room. I guarantee you, as I'm talking to you right now, you're all very aware about there's one space that is driving you crazy at the moment, or isn't working, or it needs a declutter, all the things. We all have it. But it's like the more you ignore it, the bigger it gets. The bigger it gets, the harder it is to fix, the more time it takes to fix. So let's just dive into a little bit more about your space, your mood, your mindset, and all of that. Now, this could be mess, clutter, that's the general one. It could be stuff like the space just doesn't work and so it drives you crazy because you forever feel like you're fighting with a space that just isn't supporting you and your family or your workspace and it's driving you crazy. It could be that you're just wishing that your home felt better, looked better. You hate the mismatched furniture. You hate that it's cluttered. You hate that there's too much going on in the space. I actually did a reel this week talking about pause points and making sure that you don't style every inch of your home to the inch of its life and it doesn't allow your eyes to rest. It's okay to have negative space. Just like behind me, I have stuff here. I don't have anything here. I don't need anything here. There are places in your home that you don't need to have a thing. I see this a lot with people with artwork. They feel like they've got to fill every wall with something. And honestly, it's just not the case. This helps add to the chaos of whatever life is throwing at you or whatever's going on in your home at the time. It just adds to that. And we don't want that. When you walk into your bedroom, what does it say to you? Are you like, oh, this is so stressful, it's so messy, or there's too much going on in here? when you walk into your kitchen, you're like, oh my God, it's so cluttered, or it's always messy, or there's always life admin on the kitchen bench, and it's just always like that, and it drives you crazy. Let's talk about, there's plenty of studies around about, you know, how clutter can increase cortisol levels, and the environment directly influences your energy and your emotional regulation based around that. Um, these things are real life. And like I said to you before, life really already throws so much at us. We don't need our home to just add on top of that. So, really starting to identify how you feel in a room, in your home or your workspace when you walk in. Are you like shoulders tensing? Are you wincing? Are you like, oh, I don't even want to deal with this? Are you closing the door and being like, I'm not spending time in there? What are the things that are really, is your home telling you? Because I know as I'm saying this, you're all imagining a space. I know that you're all thinking, oh yeah, where the kids' school bags are is always chaos because I don't really have the right storage. Oh my God, my walk-in wardrobe needs a clean out. It's got so many things down the bottom of just like things that I haven't sorted through, or it doesn't have enough storage, or I need to just go through my wardrobe and clean out my clothes. Whatever it is, maybe you don't have enough light in there so you can't see properly. I'm saying that because my walk-in wardrobe, I don't have enough light in there. And so I feel like it's always a mess because I'm rummaging because I haven't fixed the lighting in there. So it's on my list to do. We also need to talk about the fact that, okay, we all go onto social media, we all go and check out Pinterest. I love Pinterest, but it also is a bit of a love-hate relationship because we all see these picture perfect walk-in wardrobes or lounge spaces or kids' rooms that look like they're out of a magazine, and they look beautiful, but let's face it, that is not real life. So we don't want to flip to the other side where we're pushing for perfection. It just really has to have that style and function brought together. That is the biggest key thing. And the only way we're going to know that is if we really take a really good look at what is it that we want this space to give us? What do we use it for? And how do we want to feel? And those things we use as the basis of creating the space. It's not got to be about color palette, the furniture, that all comes. But if you don't go back to the beginning and really think about how you need it to make you feel and function, what's the point? Like anything can look pretty, but it's not going to stay that way. And then it's going to be another room on your to do list that drives you crazy, or that you've got to clean, or never stays tidy, or, the storage doesn't work. The list goes on. So, let's be real about each space, feel and function. If we don't consider those two, then and create a concept around how we want to feel and how we need it to function, it's never going to work. It's always going to be a problem. And styling needs to be a tool that helps support, create a space that makes you feel good and you can enjoy, not another thing to deal with. None of us need another thing to deal with. I know I certainly don't have time for that. And so when spaces crop up and feel like they're becoming something that I have to deal with, and not in a like function, like every day, just living, putting some things away, kind of when it becomes a problem, when it's getting on my nerves, when it's making me angry or upset, that's when I know I've got to do something about it. And this will crop up. A home is not like a set and forget thing. It evolves all the time. And you just have to have that awareness around it. And I think most of us have the awareness. It's just that a lot of us then choose to avoid the elephant in the room and just not deal with it until it becomes such a huge problem that it is like this big project that we've got to deal with. That's not cool. So, it could be things like open plan living space that never feels open plan. It just feels like chaos. And sometimes open plan living are like key breeding grounds for this because the open plan there's lots of space. And if it's not set up in zones with storage that supports the zones, it's gonna be just stuff everywhere because you have the space. And if you've got kids, let's face it, space is like a welcoming party to come and fill with whatever you choose to fill it. So, having things set up in certain ways to support how we live and allow us to feel good, even in the everyday chaos that could be playtime, having play dates over, or they get really into the Lego and they just want to make a Lego city, whatever it is, because these things are real. This is what happens in life, in homes. As long as we have things in place to support all of that and we're not, stepping over Lego for the next week, or we can't actually go and watch TV and read a book, or because it's just covered in whatever the kids are doing at the time. And there's no balance for everyone who needs to enjoy that space. It's a problem that will not go unsolved. It will just escalate. So, I guess the thing here is really about understanding that style and function aren't a trade off, right? It's just about setting it up in a way that really is smart and considered. So, I often talk about it's got to support your lifestyle. It's got to support the good and the bad, the good and the ugly. It can't just be like, well, I want to sit and read a book and have a cup of tea. But I know for a fact that also my daughter likes to dance and she wants to put on shows for me and she needs space. So we need to make sure that the styling kind of is considered for everyone, especially in a family situation. There's no point just catering to one person and one person's happy and everyone else is struggling to make it all work for them. And that can sometimes be a really tricky thing to do, but you have to consider it. Like everything from, you know, the morning rush out the door to get to school, quiet Sunday afternoons as a family. Maybe you work from home, or maybe you have a partner who works from home, not full time. We are currently about to transition as a family into my husband potentially working from home 1 or 2 days a week. And our home is just simply not set up for that. And him working from the dining table is not really practical. He takes calls. I'm also working from home a lot. And we have my daughter who sometimes can be home in the afternoons and he's doing calls and she can't be interrupting his calls. So it's really about making a big awareness around what you really need and taking ownership of that as these are important things for us to consider. I think too, when people see these problem areas in their home, they kind of overthink everything, like, this is really hard. What am I going to choose? I don't know where to go. And that can be very real for everyone, which is a lot of the reason why most clients come and see me as a stylist, because they find even just figuring out what that looks like can be difficult. But if you start from the point of view of at least understanding how you use your space and how you want it to feel, you can kind of nut out a fairly good idea of what you want, but you may need some help getting it to that next step. Now this is a very real thing for us. When we renovated 2 years ago, there was lots of conversations around how we use our space now. My daughter is obviously young, and this is our forever home. So, what will it look like when she's a teenager? Um, how do we think that's going to look? How is that going to function? Making sure that we have a little bit of a plan in place for how that's going to evolve and transition over time, and making decisions based on that. Because I don't know about you, but when it gets to teenage years, I know that my daughter's not going to want us in the same room as her for when she has friends over, but we want to be close by. So, understanding how those zones are going to work, how do we give each other privacy and peace and quiet, but also it just works for the ideal of what we're comfortable with, how we function as a family. All those things are really important. So for us, we have an open plan living, dining, kitchen space. We have a media room. They're probably our biggest spaces that we use. And the idea will be that my daughter will have the media room and my husband and I will have the other space, but the media room is open. So we've kind of talked about down the track, we'll probably put a barn door on there that will slide over my office and back into the media room. So it'll kind of have dual purpose, as kind of an evolution of what we have now that suits us now. But we know we're going to need something that's going to have, a little bit of sound barrier and privacy down the track. So, but this would have only come about if we started having these conversations, understanding what do we want it to look like, how do we want it to function, how do we want to feel in those situations. Really important one. I always think and often talk to clients who are maybe just getting a bit of brainstorming with me is to do a quick audit. So close your eyes and do like a walkthrough of your home mentally. Where do you feel stuck? What's really bothering you? What areas are overwhelming you? Is it the laundry because you've got so much washing but you just don't have capacity to hold it all? Is it a storage issue? Do you need to change some things up to make it work better for you? What does that look like? Or it might be as simple as your space just needs a bit of a reset or a bit of an evolution from what it was to what it needs to be now. And that might pick up some things of, someone in the family uses the space differently, or we're actually not using that space to full capacity. Maybe this could take pressure off another space that we use more frequently. Things like this really important. And that will help keep everyone's energetics to a good spot, to where we feel good. And that is what our home should be. Now, most people always feel overwhelmed in their home at some point. I know when I go into people's homes, everyone freaks out and is like, don't look at the mess, don't look at the mess. Like, let's be honest. Um, like the reality of life is that, our homes are not going to be perfect. And that's okay. And I happily walk into homes and my home is the same. It's not perfect. Um, and that's, I think, make sure you feel okay with it, but make it set up in a way that it's also not going to stress you out. You want to make sure you have like a space where your family can spend time together. Maybe that's important. You don't want it to be somewhere that frustrates you and we can't all fit here and we can't do this and we can't do that. You could do something like a little bit of a checklist of like what clutter is happening. Where do we need to declutter the most? Because that again is the same thing. It's an evolution. It doesn't, you declutter once and that's it. It just doesn't work like that. So like, what are some quick wins we can do? Where's some quick decluttering we need to do. Usually it's stuff like kids' toys. It might be your wardrobe. Sometimes it's the linen cupboard. That can be a really good one, and definitely one that I think I need to do next, because I feel like my linen cupboard is overrun with a lot of stuff actually that we don't use. I've got like single bed sheets and doonas and things in there. My daughter doesn't have a single bed anymore. I don't have need for that, so I really don't need to be keeping that. It's taking up good space in my linen cupboard. So just adding things like that into your quick wins can make a huge difference. I'll actually tell you a funny story. So when we were doing our kitchen renovation, um, we had anticipated we wanted a really large fridge. Now we were going from kind of having a spare fridge in the garage, which was soon going to become my warehouse for my business, down to one fridge. So we wanted a decent sized fridge. We'd always kind of had two, and the other one was kind of drinks fridge slash when, we had entertaining and Christmas, So we had the space, we could do a significant size fridge. So we did some measure ups, obviously, came to the end of the kitchen renovation. Fridge comes, we'd kind of misinterpreted what that space looked like, and we had a little bit too much of a gap. It was about, I think, 40 centimeters. So it was really too big to be like, oh, it's just a gap. And it looked weird. So, talking to our kitchen designer, we actually ended up putting a cupboard in there. Now, this cupboard has turned out to be one of the best investments in our kitchen that we had ever anticipated, and it was a mistake. But this cupboard has now become our life admin cupboard. It's where all our bags go, keys, like any kind of birthday invitations, all those things that generally end up on your kitchen bench or in a pile, an ugly pile somewhere. All of that is behind closed doors in this perfect little cupboard. So, just having things like that can function for you for what you need, but it also means that our kitchen is not overrun with life admin. It is purely there for a cooking space for us, which we love. Has been an amazing game changer, and my husband and I joke all the time about how amazing this cupboard has been, because literally it's used daily, um and it's amazing. So if you're struggling with life admin, you need to find yourself a location that can just be hidden away. It works for you, it's convenient, but it's not you having piles of paper and all the things on your kitchen bench, because I know a lot of people do struggle with that. What else? What else? What else? What other problems have I had? I haven't had too many other problems. I feel like our renovation, we really took the time to nut out some things. I think storage is always a big one. Understanding your storage, your needs of your storage. Um, Things also, really personalized things. For example, uh, my husband's birthday was recently, and I actually surprised him with, he loves our media room, loves movies, does a bit of gaming. So we redid a little bit of a feature in our media room and made that really kind of like his dream media room. We also did a breakfast bar off our kitchen outside, so he's got his very own bar. Doing those little personalized spaces that you can truly enjoy. Like for me, the chair I'm sitting in currently, I sit here and have tea all the time. Get to look out the window. This is my space. A lot of people don't tend to have that for themselves. My daughter has a space in the media room that's like a beanbag and she can draw. It's not just like just a family media room. She has a little space for herself that's kind of like a calm corner. Including things like that in your home as part of your styling is so important. Maybe you like to read. Where's your reading space? And it's not about creating a reading room. Sometimes it's as simple as a chair with a side table in a space that you like, that makes you feel good. It's about creating that space for yourself or your family members. That's important. That can be a real game changer than having it's important to think about the general areas, but what do you have for you? Because your home should reflect you as an individual, you as a family, and the season you're in, um, and support your needs. So it's not about perfection. It's about ease, feeling good, how you function, and your home supporting that. If you're feeling good in your home, I'm telling you right now, it's a huge changer and it overflows into so much of your life. But if your home is stressing you out when life it can already be stressful, that's like a double whammy. So I think it's really important to walk around your home and really feel like what things are really not working for me, what's stressing me out, what do we need to address? And it might not be something that, stresses you out. It could be someone in your family, or it could be you guys as a collective. It's just not working for everyone as a collective. So definitely take the time to walk around and have a look at where is really triggering you and why. Because I guarantee you'll be able to figure it out. You'll walk into a room and you'll be like, I hate this room because I hate that couch because it's really uncomfortable and I'd really like to sit in here, but I don't because it's awful and all the furniture is just random bits and pieces and nothing makes sense and I hate it. Or it could be, oh my God, there's so much clutter in here. It stresses me out just because of the overwhelm of clutter. You need to declutter. So asking yourself the question will give you the answer to make some positive changes. And I think that's so absolute key. And like I said to you, it's not a set and forget, and you don't have to do it again. Because remember, our homes evolve as we grow and change and what season we're in. Especially if you have kids, it really just does change so much depending on where they're at. But it can also be your work life and how where you're at with your work life and how that changes too. So keep those things in mind when you are looking around at, oh, I feel really agitated or have felt really stressed out, lately when I've come home. And why is that? I guarantee you it'll be more than just whatever's going on in your life. There'll be stuff happening in your home and how it looks and feels and how it's making you feel that is making an impact on you. And let's face it, if we can make things a little easier on ourselves, why not? Well, that's it for me. I hope you've kind of enjoyed my reflection on how your home can really kind of create that mixed feeling of what's going on and how we can really take some good looks at what's happening and making some changes that will make things a little bit easier and smoother and more enjoyable for you at home. That's it from me, guys. I will catch you next time.